I've gone through every single diet you can possibly imagine. And I think when you have no rules, it's like total freedom. I don't need to go out to dinner and tell everyone like, oh, I can't have this. And that creates so much anxiety. And then that's where eating disorders definitely can produce, is like when you start to have all these rules on yourself. If it's in front of me, or like if I know it's come from a sustainable source, like I'm not going to be like, no, like that can't be in my life, because that creates for me food anxiety. I don't want that in my life. I want that liberation. I want that freedom. I'm trying the best I possibly can, but every now and then I can't be perfect all the time. And it's so liberating. Like I cannot tell you how good it is to just be like, you know what, I don't have any rules. I just try my best and that's okay. Life is so short, and just eat the cake and eat it with love.
This is episode 92. I am so happy that you're here, and thank you for joining my show, your coach, Helen Yuskovic. I am on a worldwide mission to help people get confident in putting themselves first, because I used to put myself second my whole life. And because of that, I experienced every unhealthy relationship possible. An unhealthy relationship with myself, my health, my wealth, my intimate relationships, my family, my friends, and my career. I'm now living in an abundance that I used to just dream about. So I want to pave the way for you too. It's time, guys. It's time that you live in the life of your dreams as well. So let's take a step towards that right now. P.S. Subscribe to my podcast on your app now so that you always tune in to my new episodes. Welcome to the show, Natasha. And guys, I'm so excited for today's guest because we just ran a retreat in Byron Bay, and Tash is one half of Burbury Whole Foods, who I was lucky enough to have as our source of nutrition and nourishment throughout the whole retreat. And it was so funny. We loved the food so much that I said to Tash, I want to get you to come onto the podcast show because I want to talk about food, because she's so passionate about food and I love food. And she makes eating healthy so simple. So that's why I wanted to bring her on the show. So Tash, welcome to the show.
Hello. You're so funny on your retreat. You're all taking pictures every meal. It was quite the compliment. I love it.
Do other people do that?
Some retreats, yeah, not all though. I feel like you were definitely the most enthusiastic, which is awesome.
You know, they say that the retreat trickles from like the head person. So I love food, and that just meant that everybody that came also enjoyed food as much as me. So
yeah,
let's
awesome.
actually talk about this journey for you and how you got to Burbury Whole Foods and what happened? Where did you come from and how did this manifest?
Oh, it's such a journey. It's a bit of a sad one to, I guess, a funny question to start off with, but also beautiful in the same way. Actually, from a really young age, from when I was 8, I had a pretty horrible eating disorder. So it's a pretty crazy story to think that a person with an eating disorder that was pretty bad as well, in and out of hospital up until I was 27, like a while. Most of my life, I had a pretty horrible eating disorder. And then when I was 22, I studied art at university. And then I was working as a barista, like every art student does when they first finish uni. And in Canada, I had my art up on the walls. This beautiful woman would come in every day and she'd order coffee from me and we'd chat about art, and she kind of got to know my story, I guess. I mean, it's pretty obvious when someone's got an eating disorder because it's obviously a physical, not always, definitely not always. And it was pretty obvious for my case. And she said to me, hey, I'm opening up this restaurant and I'd love for you to work at it. And I was like, you've just got to be kidding me. My biggest fear is food. I don't want to have anything to do with that. And she was like, no, it's just like you're not going to be making any of the food. You're just going to be plating it. All the chefs will make it. You just put it together. And it's just like, instead of using paint, you're using food. And now I know in hindsight, this beautiful woman put me under her wing and basically began me on my healing journey. And
wow. Wow.
Yeah, insane. And when I started working in this restaurant, it was actually a plant-based whole foods restaurant. So it was a good place to start. And basically I started like touching food, getting to know food. And I saw all these different people coming into this restaurant who were sick and just started healing themselves with food and obviously other, lots of different ways to heal. And and I just started my healing journey there. And it definitely wasn't like a straight heal. I definitely went up and down with it. But I guess that was the first realization that I had a problem. And and she really helped me. Yeah.
From the age of 8 to about 22.
Yeah.
That was the first time you realized, hold on, I think I have a problem.
Yeah, I think that's the problem with, that's the thing with eating disorders. You're so blinded. And I mean, I also grew up in the 90s but the 90s was definitely celebrated of like skinny, that world. And we all know during that time. And I think it's just so celebrated to be thin. At that time, it was like when I was my thinnest was when I would get all the compliments of like, oh, wow, you look so good. You look so healthy. And it's like deep down, you're killing yourself inside. And so that's kind of where my journey began. And she basically trained me. And definitely growing up, my grandma was a chef. I had a lot of food around me. Like it definitely came naturally to me as well. But that was the beginning of my journey. And then I just went on from there and I just fell in love with it. And then we started Burbury Whole Foods. And now, that's what I do full time. So I you just can't believe that someone that hated food so much is now a chef.
Well, they say, become the person that you needed in your life.
Totally.
And so it sounded like you had this journey with food since you were a child, and it's like you've come full circle.
Yeah, totally. And it was definitely what I needed as well. I don't know where I'd be without that. Maybe I would have figured out some other way to get better. But it definitely felt like the most humbling and beautiful experience that way. Yeah.
I love that you had an angel in your life come to you.
Yeah, I've had a few angels in my life. Definitely, obviously, Tom as well, who is my partner in life, partner in business.
Yes, and Tom's going to come on for another show and I can't wait to have him. But Tash, let's talk about Whole Foods. Can you explain, because we have people listening from all over the world, can you explain what Whole Foods are for those people listening that have no idea what we're saying, and also what is the benefits of whole food?
The beautiful thing about Whole Foods, it's like quite a broad umbrella of food. It's basically nothing that's been altered or had anything added to it. So, a food that is whole, like an apple or an orange or a grain or a nut. So definitely not an LCM or it's not a whole food. Not that I think that you should cut out any food group. It's just kind of recommended that we should eat majority of whole foods. Yes. And the benefits of it, obviously, it's had no preservatives added and it's at its purest form, which makes sense. I think we all know deep down that, eating sugary foods with processed sugars and additives is not good for us. You can feel that from a cellular level when you eat. It's like, obviously, you don't feel as good as when you eat a beautiful fresh apple or a fresh food that's come straight from the earth without anything added. Just how humans have always eaten until the Industrial Revolution, really. So obviously there's heaps of benefits from eating that way. And like I said, I don't think it's important to eat that way all the time. Like, this is something to be aware of when you're eating. If you're eating foods that contain sugar and processed sugar. Should I explain the difference of processed sugar and regular sugar?
You totally should.
So obviously foods contain sugar, and lots of different foods contain variety of different amounts of sugars. So like there's fruit sugars, for instance. Dates have a high sugar level, but it's different to processed sugar, which is basically will spike your sugar levels, and that's where you get that crazy come down when you eat like a huge chocolate cake with lots of processed sugar. It tastes amazing at the time, and enjoy it if you're going to do it, but you will have that crash, that fall, and it's not going to have that much nutritional benefit compared to eating a cake that has been sweetened with dates or coconut sugar or something of a more natural, like whole food ingredient.
What about whole foods versus plant-based foods? What's the difference there?
So plant-based is where you don't eat any animal products. So no dairy, no eggs, no meat or fish. But whereas whole foods, my way of eating, because of my history, I don't like to have any rules. So that's why whole foods work really well with me. It's like we're still eating animal products, obviously in more ethical ways when we can. But whereas with plant-based, it's just no animal products.
Is there such a thing as a whole food-based diet?
I don't think so.
We should create a movement, Tash.
Yeah. Obviously, people really recommend whole foods. And the cool thing about whole foods is like, there's so many diets out there where don't eat grains or, paleo or keto or whatever. Whereas with whole foods, everyone can agree on eating whole foods, eating whole ingredients is good. Doctors agree on that. Everyone agrees. Like cut down on the amount of sugar you're having and processed food and eat more real food.
Yeah.
Which is what I really like. Whereas with those other diets, we go through different waves of them all the time.
Little side note, when we were at the retreat, Tash made us a beautiful afternoon tea cake. And I remember she came out one afternoon and she was talking about the ingredients of the cake. And you basically said, so you're actually eating a salad.
Pretty much. I think people have so much guilt around food, and I think that's something that I really, really try to push, obviously because of my background, that doesn't actually matter. Like we look at these cakes and everyone freaks out because it's got cake as the heading, but it's got dates in it. You can have salad with dates in it. Like what's the difference? But we're all happy to eat a salad.
We were secretly happy when we saw cake on the menu.
Cake's the best.
And they were so delicious. And I'd love to talk about your book at the end too. But it's time for your very first curveball. Are you ready to play?
Oh.
Tash, what is something that most people don't know about you?
Oh, I'm a pretty open book. Don't know about, everybody knows I love cats, so that's an easy one. But people that don't know about me, I don't know. I'm so open.
Remember, no listeners know you.
That's a hard one. No listeners know me. Something that people don't know about me. I'm actually quite an introvert and love my space to myself, which is funny because obviously I live this life where I'm super in front of people and I seem like I have this like bubbly energy and love to be in front of people, but I'm definitely like a little book nerd and love to just read and be on my own with my cat.
I love that. That's like me too. That's beautiful. Let's keep talking about food. And what I'd love to know is, what is your favorite way to eat every day? Could you like guide us through like a day in the life of Tash's food? And can you talk about why you've chosen that way of eating?
So favorite way to eat, I really, really like to talk about this actually a lot because I get asked all the time, do you eat this way at home? And then people have this big-eyed look on their face like, wow, your life, like you must just be the healthiest person ever because you eat all this organic food all the time. And I just want to stop everyone right there, and I definitely don't. It's just so when people talk about their trade, often people say an electrician never has lights in their house. Well, it's the same with chefing. Like I come home and, I cook all day and I'm definitely not perfect. I come home and I do eat a good pizza every now and then. And like I love a good burger from Old Maids in Brunswick. They're like my favorite place ever. I'm actually on their website. That's how often I go there. So favorite way to eat is definitely no rules. It's definitely taken me, up until probably 2 years ago to actually say that. I've had every rule under the sun, but now I just eat with so much love and I don't have any rules at all. Like I don't wake up and think, I have to have a green juice or anything. I just wake up, I feel into my body and say, hey, today I'm going to have a big glass of water, but tomorrow if I don't do that, doesn't matter. And then, I just eat pretty plainly at home. Like I love a good bowl of rice with some roast veg and some tahini. But other than that, there's definitely no rules. How you watch people on Instagram that have, today I woke up and I had my cacao and I had 2 liters of water with lemon and like do my 4 hours of yoga. And you're just like, cool, that's good for you, but that's really triggering for me. So I'm not going to do any of that. And I'm just going to eat what I feel.
Yeah. I love that. And I just heard you say that you have an awareness of feeling into your body with what to eat on the day. So you have no rules, but you feel into your body, which means you have some sort of mindfulness or awareness of what you need. Can you just talk about that? What do you mean you feel into your body?
Yeah, it's a funny one because, so many people say to me, like, how do you actually feel into your body? And especially in a world where we are super bombarded with, you should be doing this, it's really hard to actually go, hey, what do I need? And it's very much easier said than done. And I think it gets thrown around a fair bit, like, oh, I feel into my body. But if you actually do shred away what you've been told and listen in, you can really hear it in if you know what makes you feel good. Even though I don't want many rules in my life, I know that if I drink 2 liters of water, I'm going to feel really good. And I need to listen like, hey, maybe I feel dehydrated. That's something that I need to tune into, and I need to drink more water, or maybe I need to eat a cucumber because I know cucumbers are really hydrating. So if you just actually put a bit of mindfulness into your life, like let go of your devices and let go of everything around you and go, okay, what do I need right now? Your body will tell you. You just have to get rid of those distractions. Basically.
I resonate so much with what you're saying because I work in the health space. Everyone thinks that I'm healthy 24 hours a day. And it sometimes comes as a shock when I have an alcoholic beverage, or if I do something like, what the hell? You're not like healthy. I'm like, it's all about moderation. And so,
yeah, and that is healthy.
Yeah. And it's just funny that, people can view you in a way that you are something that you're not just because of your profession.
Totally.
And then it puts the pressure on themselves that they're not good enough because you must be eating whole foods every single day, and I must be healthy every single day. But it's not like that at all. We just, the things that we post, right, the foods that you would post that you cook, that you chef, doesn't mean that you cook that every single day at home,
Yeah, and it's unrealistic as well. Like you saw at the retreat, we're in the kitchen for 9 hours a day. Like, how is anyone possibly meant to, unless you have a private chef, like you can't eat like that. It's just the reality of it.
Why have you chosen to have no rules?
Because of my past. I think I've gone through every single diet you can possibly imagine. And I think when you have no rules, it's like total freedom. I don't need to go out to dinner and tell everyone like, oh, I can't have this. And that creates so much anxiety. And then that's where eating disorders definitely can produce, is that when you start to have all these rules on yourself. If it's in front of me, or like if I know it's come from a sustainable source, like I'm not going to be like, no, like that can't be in my life, because that creates for me food anxiety. I don't want that in my life. I want that liberation. I want that freedom. I'm trying the best I possibly can, but every now and then I can't be perfect all the time. And it's so liberating. Like I cannot tell you how good it is to just be like, you know what, I don't have any rules. I just try my best and that's okay.
I love that. You sound like my soul sister.
Oh.
Exactly how I eat. I don't believe that we should have rules around food. I feel like what you said, you just got to feel into your body. And if you do eat whole foods, you are automatically going to be eating healthier foods. So it will automatically take out all the processed stuff as well. And if you do have something that is processed whenever, like if you go to a party or something, then don't beat yourself up. The worst thing you can do is guilt yourself, because when you have stress in the body, that just stops your digestive system from working properly. And if you just enjoy it and just love that whole moment of eating that ice cream or whatever it is that you're eating, it'll digest pretty well.
Totally. And I know so many, working in the health space, you see it so often, like where people, they might eat the perfect diet, but they're not healthy. They're anxious. They're worried every time they go outside pretty much because, to eat that way, it's not sustainable. And, life is so short, and just eat the cake and eat it with love.
It's a salad anyway.
Because it's basically salad. Yeah.
Tash, it's time for your second curveball.
Oh, no.
Are you ready to play? What's your favorite form of self-care?
Favorite form of self-care? Oh, definitely meditation. I love meditating. And if there's any moment in your life, it's just such a beautiful practice. I always say, my meditation teacher said it so beautifully to me. It's like, meditation's not a chore, it's a luxury. And I really do feel that. Like, I used to always put it on the to-do list, like, oh, must meditate in the morning. But now it's like, oh, actually, how beautiful is this? I give myself a moment, once or twice a day or more if I can. And it's this beautiful moment where I get to have to myself, to bring myself into the present moment. And it just works every time. Like, it's just a no-brainer for me.
That's so beautiful. I mean, the studies are all there.
Yeah.
You mentioned a word to me, and it was orthorexia. What is that?
Orthorexia, it's a new term that's kind of popped up, which makes total sense to me. So when I was going through my eating disorder, you have like anorexia, which people know of, and bulimia. But with orthorexia, it happens a lot for people coming out of an eating disorder. They'll, instead of cutting out food completely, they'll have orthorexia, which is basically like obsessive healthy eating, which is, it's funny because people think that you're better. They're like, oh, she's doing so well, like she's gained the weight back. But meanwhile, you're just extremely obsessive about, I was personally obsessive about eating vegan food and making sure everything was gluten-free, which also took me on my path to obviously where I am now, like working in the health industry. I know heaps about it because of my obsession, but it's just like we were saying this throughout this whole podcast, we've been saying, like, letting go of that as well. And that was a huge, huge learning of understanding that, because I was still sick, even though I looked from the outside healthier.
So being super conscious of making healthy decisions, but so super conscious it becomes like obsessive and unhealthy.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
How the hell did you get out of that? Because it sounds like a really toxic pattern.
Yeah, and so many people, it's so funny, the more I open up about it, and I'm super open about it, obviously. It's in our cookbook, I talk about it at retreats, but how I got out of it, I went through a whole bunch of therapy which didn't work, and the hospitals didn't help at all either. And then it's actually really beautiful. I moved in with my girlfriend Kenny. I mean, it's gonna make me cry, but she's just the most beautiful human on the planet. And
don't cry, because I'll cry.
She is just so loving towards her body. She wears whatever she wants. She goes topless at the beach all the time. Like, it's this full body woman, and she's just so hilarious, and nothing worried her. And she was just so vibrant. She is so vibrant and full of life. She just inspired me so much. Like, hey, you know what? You don't have to be this skinny girl that's worried about what you eat. She doesn't care. And everybody loves her.
How amazing.
I lived with her and we shared a bed, actually, when we had no money. And yeah, she just fully inspired me to live my life and not worry so much. So yeah, definitely she was the catalyst to change. And then obviously my partner, Tom.
Like a role model. You had like a role model to mimic.
Yeah, totally. A role model. And it's so important to have those people in your life. I think no matter how much therapy or those things are important, to get an understanding of what it is, and to understand it is a disease, not just like you. But yeah, the role model thing is just amazing, and you need those people.
I always tell my clients, whatever part of your body that you're in disagreement with, put your hand on it and say, I love you, arm. I love you, stomach. One thing that my friend Stacey does is she's on a weight loss journey because she's overweight. She wants to improve her health, and she puts her hand on her belly and she's like, I love you, belly, but it's time to go.
Oh yeah.
So always beautiful. Filling yourself up with self-love, and just I love that your friend has so much love towards her body image. It just sounds so healthy.
Yeah.
So shout out to you, Kenny.
Shout out to Kenny. I'll send this podcast to her.
I've got one more curveball for you. Are you ready to play?
Oh gosh. Yeah.
We love random acts of kindness here at Whole Health. And I would like to ask you, what was your last random act of kindness, no matter how big or small?
Oh, random act of kindness. I mean, one that I love doing, I haven't done it often enough lately, where you pay for the next person's coffee. I think that's just the best. Yeah. Wow. But I should probably do more. I used to do it a fair bit, but You reminded me I'm going to do more of it.
You've reminded me to shout someone's coffee too. It's so nice. Yeah. Tash, is there anything else that you'd like to share before we wrap up the show today?
What can we share? I think we've done so well. I love talking about this stuff. Yeah, you've really brought it out. I love it.
When we get Tom on the show, I'd love to talk about your book because it's so beautiful.
Thank you.
Maybe we'll talk about that a lot more when he's on the show. But can you just tell me what your book is called and what's sort of in that book and who it's for?
So it's a Whole Foods cookbook, obviously, Burbury Whole Foods. And it's really cool. It's really simple. So basically before we started the book, we put out a survey to ask everyone, what do you want out of a cookbook? And everyone wrote back, I just want it to be simple. So we've made it really simple, like how do you get more whole foods into your life? And we give you shopping lists, the importance of going to farmers markets, like tips and tricks all through it. Basically just bring more like whole foods in. And it's my stories in there. And it starts off at the beginning of the book with your staples and like getting yourself prepared during the week. And then that way when you come home and you're really busy and you're tired, it's really easy to prepare like a really simple, delicious meal.
So good. I'd love to share something with you before you go. We still have our WhatsApp group from the retreat. We've created like a sisterhood, and a few of the women have actually posted up the foods that they've cooked from your cookbook.
So beautiful.
And one lady, hold on, tell me if you know this recipe because it was hilarious, because she spent a long time.
Really?
And
the whole point is for it to be simple.
Yes. What did she say? About to wait 18 to 72 hours for this batch of medicinal vegetable broth to be ready.
Yeah, it's basically a vegetable broth that has like lots of different mushrooms and goodies in there, which you put in a slow cooker for as long as you can, really, to bring out all the different nutritional benefits from those veggies.
And one lady, she wrote, why did it take so long? And she said, that's in the bloody book. I'm doing what Tash says.
Oh, so funny.
So you'll be proud to know that we are creating your beautiful masterpieces in our home. So thank you for that. And thank you for your time on the show today.
Thank you.
I'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Thank you times infinity for spending time with me. It really means a lot. Putting yourself first will really help escalate your goals, your dreams, and I love being on the journey with you. So make sure you come and tell me on my Instagram at Whole Health, which is HOL_health, and comment below this podcast photo to share your thoughts on my show today. And if you enjoyed it, please leave me a 5-star review on iTunes or Spotify so that I can keep bringing amazing value to you. I'm sending you truckloads of love, power, and joy. Bye for now.